Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're reading from 10th chapter, 8th verse, Bhagavad Gita. 8. So I'll discuss 10.8, 10.9, 10.10 and 10.11. If anybody has this Gita, they can see there, or we can just have there. But these verses are important, and I'll tell you why. Well, let's read the 8th verse. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. I'll just straightforward go into the thing because we'll otherwise waste time. Okay. I'll explain. Let me do Mangalacharan. Om Ajnana Timarantasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Kshurunlitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namah Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesh Shunyavadi Vaishchadeshtarine Srila Prabhupada Ki. Now these 4 verses are talking about the summary of entire Bhagavad Gita, by the way. Just in 4 verses, that's all. So if you cannot read the entire Bhagavad Gita, you read these 4 verses and at least you get the essence. That's why these 4 verses are called Chatushloki Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna, he summarized all the Vedic knowledge into 700 verses of Bhagavad Gita. But he saw that still people don't have time, by the way. And they are pretty lazy and also not so intelligent. So he summarized entire Bhagavad Gita in these 4 verses. And these 4 verses are talking about our relationship with God. Anyway, first, who is God? That's one thing. Defining God. And so that's pretty much the 8th verse, definition of God. And the 9th verse and the 10th verse is about how to connect to God, or how to develop love for Him. And the 11th verse, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th verse talking about, okay, if you connect to Him, if you develop love for Him, what happens? Why do we want love, first of all? So all these questions are answered in all these 4 verses, and we'll discuss this now. Okay, now let's go for 10.8, and this verse is talking about definition of God. Now you see the point, very few philosophies are there which define God. Very few even theistic religious sects, they define. People don't have definition of God. That's interesting. You ask anybody who is God? Most of the people will answer you, God is undefined. You can ask, isn't it? Many societies. God is undefined, He's beyond words, He is light, or He is feeling, His emotions, His nature. For scientists, God is laws of nature. For poets, God is feelings and emotions. For philosophers, God is maybe an abstract entity. Yes or no, don't know. A subject of discussion and speculation. But for Bhagavad Gita, it gives an exact definition of God. And actually this was the tipping point I became a devotee. At least for me. Because I was searching for a definition of God. I went to so many saints. Actually, I left my home to search who is God. I just ran away from my home, by the way, one night. And then I was meeting saints and asking them this question, how do you define God? That's just one question. And nobody could do though. Nobody could give me definition. And the very basis of the search for truth is finished. If you can't define your goal, then how do you attain that? So they were telling, yes, we can't define God, but we can tell you meditation and this. What's the point? First you have to define the goal for me. Where should I go? And they couldn't do so. But then I read Prabhupada's books, and I got a definition of God. Yes, this is perfect, because science means defining. So what's the definition of God? Okay, 8th verse speaks about definition of God. What is God? If anybody asks you definition of God, this is a verse you want to quote. Can everybody understand me?
Yeah.
Am I clear? I'm not too fast. Am I speaking fast? No? Okay, fine. Because I think I was in Seattle and there were some Americans and they said, you speak very fast. Okay.
All Indian origin people speak fast.
Yeah, Indian, yeah.
They
are, yeah.
Our skill level.
Yeah, you're right. So, okay. So, what's the definition? God is Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo. Krishna says, first, Aham, I am God. As simple. Aham in Sanskrit means I. Is it? It's simple, straightforward. And who is God? Sarvasya Prabhavo. God is that from whom everything originates. Am I clear? From whom everything emanates. And that's where Bhagavatam begins. Janmadhyasya Vedanta Sutra begins there. Janmadhyasya, from whom everything comes. Now this definition seems very simple, but it's not simple if you really think about it. So what do you mean by this statement? Everything comes from God. What's the meaning of this statement? Can anybody tell me what's the meaning of this statement? Everything comes from God.
God is the origin of.
Okay, God is the origin.
Meaning is, everything is God. Everything you see is God.
Yeah, in one sense, yeah. The idea of this statement is everything is coming from God means, in quotations, everything means everything. Now you have to understand this. Everything means everything. There is no exception. No exception. In other words, whatever you see outside and whatever you see inside, everything comes from God. Even your mind comes from God. And this has big implications, by the way. When your mind comes from God, time comes from God. Even you yourself comes from God. Now you might say, so okay, fine. Thank you very much. Where is prasadam? No, you have to wait for that. This statement has big implications. Because if everything comes from God, aham sarvasya prabhavo, then this means that everything belongs to God. Isn't it? This is second point in definition of God. Aham sarvasya prabhavo. This word prabhavo in Sanskrit means, bhava means to happen. Prabhava means to originate. Everything originates from God. Prabhava also means sense of belonging. You see, if it comes from God, it belongs to Him. Am I right? Am I right or not? So, okay, a child is born of a mother, so child belongs to that particular female. Simple, as simple. So, if everything belongs to God, then there is a problem there. And the problem is your mind also belongs to God. And you know what? If something belongs to somebody, then it is his property. Am I right? Then you can't use it at your own will. You can't do that. Can you go in somebody's house and say, well, I want to see your television. Open it. Can you do that? You can't do that. It's your neighbor. It belongs to him. You are actually trespassing. And trespassing is a criminal activity. So everything belongs to Him. So this means our body belongs to God, isn't it? And if it belongs to God, we cannot use it as we want. Now that's the problem there. The problem is you cannot use your own body, which we think it's our own, at our own will. We have to ask the owner of this body, how should I use this? Here's the point. Who is the owner of this body? Krishna, God. So you have to ask him how to use this. Now this is a big problem because you have to ask him, but the problem is he doesn't speak. You ask him, will he speak to you? No. And how do you know that? That is why he has spoken Bhagavad Gita. And if you read this book, you will understand how to use this body. You can't use it as how you want. And even your mind belongs to God. That means you can't think how you want. It's a big thing. You can't even think on your own. You can imagine? You can't use your mind how much. You can say, well, it's my life. I want to think whatever I want. No, it's not your life. It's not your mind. You can't do that. That is why Gita also gives rules to think. Rules to think. If you see 16 chapter, 17, 18 chapter, Krishna says you should think this, you should not think this. And even time doesn't belong to us. Now generally we say I have to use time properly, isn't it? We say that, no? We should use time properly in good things, in beneficial things. Well, the problem is it's not your time. We are using Krishna's time, God's time. It doesn't belong to you. So you can't do anything at any time, whatever you like. You have to consult Krishna. So you have to consult scriptures. So you see the point? Tasmat pramanam te karya vyavasthitau. Everything you do, you have to consult Krishna. Your actions, your thoughts, and your behavior. That's why Gita says, in all aspects of your life, you need guidance of scriptures. And that's the role of Bhagavad Gita there. You see the point there? For example, you are sitting now. You're all sitting. But then you have to ask Krishna how to sit. You can't sit on your own. You got the point. It's difficult. And there is guidance in scriptures. And they tell how to sit. How to sit in a lecture. How to sit, like for example, it is said in scriptures, when you are sitting in a temple, in front of a deity, you should sit in such a manner that your feet should not be visible. Feet. Otherwise, the punishment is cut your feet. Previously, they used to do like that. That was a punishment. In front of kings, in front of deities, you can't show your feet. Otherwise, the punishment was cut their feet. And that's why you see in Islam. You go Islam. So people sit, in that. The posture they sit. You know that, no? No. So it's not Padmasana. It is actually Vajrasana. Legs are behind, like that they sit. And there's a logic to that because then feet are hidden behind. But in our tradition, it's not like that. But in our tradition, then there is this dhoti and all. You see dhoti and saris. So then you can cover your feet. But of course, in this kind of dress, you can't do that. In Western dress, you can't cover your feet and your feet are visible. And that's why that's the role of culture in spirituality. You got the point? Everything is linked. So culture helps to actually follow religion and spirituality properly. Otherwise, there's a problem there. So that is one aspect. Or maybe suppose when you're sitting in temple, you're not supposed to touch your feet. You're not supposed to touch your feet because if you touch your feet, then you touch everything else. Everything else becomes contaminated. So there are some rules. So you have to learn, isn't it? So that's one example. That's one example I'm giving. Scripture also says how to stand. Did you ever think of this question, how to stand? Anybody? In school, the teacher taught you, teach you how to stand, how to sit. But I think that's the first thing we should be taught. We're all sitting, we're all standing, we're all thinking. What about that? That's life. So that's, Krishna says, that is God. God, third point is, God is that who provides rules of life, how to lead a proper life through scriptures. Aham sarvasya prabhavo. This word prabhavo carries lot of implications. Everything originates from Him, everything belongs to Him, and therefore, because everything originates from Him, everything belongs to Him. Because everything belongs to Him, everything should be used according to His directions and not according to our own whims. See the point? So that is one part of definition of God. Another part, Krishna says, Mattaha sarvam pravartate. Now this word, Matta sarvam pravartate, God says, I am that who moves everything. Not only everything originates from me, but I move everything. Movement, pravartate. You got the point? Movement. Now, here is science in Bhagavad Gita, if you see. Physics. Now, physics says laws of inertia. You know that? You know some things? Laws of inertia? What's that? So, do you remember that law of inertia? Anybody? Or you just forgot everything? What's that? Can anybody tell me law of inertia? You're a scientist. No.
A body in a state of rest or constant motion is remain to do so until acted upon by an external.
Good. So you're teaching your children now? No? Okay, you know.
I am an instructor.
Okay, you're an instructor.
I'm an inside student.
Okay, that's law of inertia. A body at rest will be at rest. A body in motion will be in motion until unless an external force is applied. It will keep on going. Now here's the point. Physics doesn't say from where motion arises. If a body keeps on moving, it keeps on moving. If a body is at rest, it keeps on rest. But how in the first place the body started moving? Now that's a big question. And then scientists say, okay, it's due to Big Bang. You got the point? Big Bang and exploded, and then there's motion because of explosion, but there is a problem there because explosion doesn't bring uniform motion. Explosion brings erratic motions. Am I right?
Yeah.
So there's a whole problem of, but our universe is having uniform motion. Planets are uniform motion. From where this is coming? And this was a debate, this was a theological debate. And now it's a scientific debate. But Krishna is saying that motion is due to me. Uniform motion requires intelligence. To keep anything in uniform motion, you need some kind of intelligence. Otherwise, things will go haywire. And in science, still it's a mystery how there's uniform motion. Nobody understands. So you see the point. In Gita, we have physics also. You see the point? How Gita is connecting to science, and that's how I talk to scientists. I take Gita and then I talk to them. You come and discuss with us. So Krishna is saying, I am the source of uniform motion. Not just motion, but uniform motion. I am the source of I am the source of ordered motion. Order must come from intelligence. Otherwise everything tends to become disordered. Am I okay or not? If they are scientist, entropy, if you understand what I am saying. So that is God. God. Generator, operator, and D is a destroyer. God. Generator. Operator means he operates by keeping order and uniform motion. And then by D it is destroyer. He also destroys, by the way. If you think he's all merciful, he can destroy also. He can do that also. So it's not just that he makes something, but he also destroys whenever required. So that is God in general terms. So that is definition of God. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta. It's a beautiful one line God is defined. Everything originates from Him. Everything belongs to Him. Everything should be used for Him. And everything is put in order by Him. And then eventually everything is destroyed by Him. Isn't it? Nice definition. It's very scientific, to the point definition. But here's the point. Now, okay, fine. So now you know the definition of God, okay? Is it okay, everybody? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, fine. So, Prasadam? No, not yet. We have some things to talk. So now the point is, iti matva bhajante mam. This knowledge is useless knowledge of God is useless if we don't develop love for Him. If I know a person and if I don't develop a relationship with him, then it is useless, isn't it? Or it might be harmful also. If I start taking somebody's information, suppose he is a corner. Okay, suppose corner is there. And if I take all his information, if I start knowing him, who is he and this, and if I go to Google and whatever, Facebook, and if I take all the information, and if I don't develop a relationship with him, and one day he comes to know I have all his information, he'll be psyched out. He'll be freaked out to what's happening. All information is with you. And I don't know you. You're CID or what, isn't it? You got the point? You're FBI? So the whole point of knowing God is to love Him. Otherwise, knowing God is useless. And that's the difference between philosophers and devotees. Philosophers want to know God, but they don't want to love Him. Don't want to establish a relationship. But devotees want to know God and want to love Him. Love is the ultimate goal and objective and purpose of human life. Because only love can satisfy us. So, that's why Krishna says, iti matva. Matva means, after knowing me, bhajante mam. Bhajante means you serve me. You connect to me. You develop a relationship with me. And then when the relationship becomes mature, that is called love. Am I right? So, people who try to know God, they are philosophers. People who try to know and love Him, those are devotees. So, devotees are a little beyond, one step beyond philosophers. People who neither know God and neither love God, they are who? Come on. I need an answer. Atheists? Okay. They are animals. They are not even humans.
Animals also know God. Gajendra Moksha.
Well, that's an exception. But they are animals.
I love animals.
Animals have no idea what's God or whatever. They can't even discuss about God, isn't it? That's in general. It's not. They're animals. They're pashu. That's what Scripture says. Animals neither know God, neither love God. Philosophers know God, and devotees know and love Him. But here's a question: then, who are humans? What do you define human as?
Most cruel animals.
Most
Cruel animals.
cruel animal.
Because they kill cows.
Yeah, maybe. Most of them. But how do you define them? How do you define humans? How does Scripture define as humans as? In relationship to God. That's the question I'm asking. So philosophers know God, devotees love God, animals they neither know, neither love God. What about humans?
Humans are part and parcel of.
Okay.
Human can think.
Yeah. What?
We can think about God.
Yeah, humans are defined as who have a capacity to know God. But they don't start to know God. When they start knowing God, then they're called philosophers. But humans have a capacity to know God. They are humans. Animals neither know God, neither love God, neither they have the capacity to know God. You see the point? Athato brahma jigyasa. They have the capacity. They are humans. That is defined by Manu Samhita, humans. And why they have a capacity to know God? Why humans have a capacity to know God? And why animals do not have a capacity to know God? Because humans have one ability which animals do not have. And what's that?
Intelligence.
Brain, intelligence,
Higher intelligence.
mind. Intelligence animals also have, by the way. and very good intelligence. If you go to Natural Geographic Channel, you see ants, group of ants, lot of intelligence. Yeah, dolphins.
They're very intelligent.
Yeah, intelligent. So then,
The thinking faculty.
thinking faculty. Okay, yeah. It is higher than animals,
Most of them.
but animals also have lot of thought.
Reasoning capacity.
Reasoning is one thing. That's why Aristotle says we are rational animals. Of course, he said we are animals still, but he said rational animals. But anyway,
And control of mind?
yes, one quality which animals don't have, and we have. Reasoning, even animals can do to a certain extent. Isn't it? Reasoning, some animals can do. If a cat is there, it can reason, whether I should go or not go. There is milk, but there's a human, I should not go. So there is some kind of rudimentary reasoning, but one thing animals never have, and humans, nothing, 0%. Animals don't have the ability to control their mind. 0. They don't even know what's the meaning of control. They don't know what do you mean by control. But we have that ability to control our mind.
We? I don't know.
We have, but we don't use it. All of us have. Yeah, but we don't use it. That's the whole idea goes.
Unstable, fickle-minded.
Yeah. We have, that is manav. Manav. Sanskrit word for human is manav. Man means mind, and we, manav, we in Sanskrit means control. If you go in Sanskrit, vi means control. Vi means wind. Vayu. And Vayu is always used in the sense of control. So Manav, who has the capacity to control mind. That's Manav. And not that who has controlled their mind. No, it's not like that. It is not like Jitendriya. It is Manav who has a capacity. So that capacity we have. And because of that capacity to control mind, we have a capacity to understand God. Because only a controlled mind can understand God. There's no way. So that is animal, human, philosophers and devotees. You see the point? How? So evolution of civilization and human society should aim at becoming devotees, because that's the highest thing. You know God, you love God, and you exercise all your capacities which are given to you as a gift, which is not given to animals. So that's why Krishna says, Iti matva bhajante mam. After knowing me, matva, bhajante, you serve me and you try to love me. That's the perfection of your life. But then how to do that? Buddha means, by the way, intelligence. Buddhi, intelligence. You use your intelligence. Use your intelligence to do that. Use your reasoning power, use your discrimination to understand me, to know me and to love me. Now here's the point. Krishna doesn't say use your emotions, by the way, at this point. General tendency for all of us, especially Indians, to think is when it comes to subject of God, they shut their intelligence and it's all emotions, isn't it? Am I right or not? Anywhere, even in America, everywhere, New Age spirituality and all that. It's all emotions. Don't try to analyze. No intelligence. It's a matter of heart. Yes, we accept that. It's not wrong. But the problem with emotions is emotions should be guided properly. Otherwise, they can go. Emotions are like children. Just like these children. They have no idea what's happening here. They are nice, they are beautiful, they are lovable, but they have no idea. So, but intelligence can, but when they become intelligent, they can control their emotions, isn't it? Guide their emotions. So Krishna says, use intelligence to guide your emotions. Don't use intelligence to destroy your emotions. No. Emotions are required. Philosophers use intelligence to destroy emotions. Finish. So some people use intelligence to destroy emotions. Some people use emotions to destroy intelligence. They become so emotional that when we talk about philosophy, no, Prabhuji, chant and be happy. No philosophy. Come on, no philosophy. Then why these books are there? then Prabhupada would have just one book with one page and one line: chant and be happy. Finished. No, philosophy has its own role. It guides emotions. That's why Krishna says Buddha, and then he says Bhava Samanvitaha. This word Samanvita means, actually in Sanskrit, Samanvita means, it's there. Samanvita means harmonize. Samanvaya. Harmonize. Harmonize intelligence and emotions. Bring them together. Use intelligence to guide emotions towards me and not towards this material world. You see the point? You have to guard your emotions, not let it flow everywhere and anywhere. Focus them on God. And that's why Krishna says Buddha Bhav Samanvita. And that is what is knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. We fuse emotions and intelligence and focus them like a laser beam at the lotus feet of Lord. And then your life is perfect. Your whole thinking, feeling and willing is only for God and only for Him. You exist for Him. Then your life is perfect. Just like a lover exists for his beloved. His or her beloved. Romeo and Juliet. It's like that. Or a mother is existing for a child. For a mother, a child is everything. Similarly, for a lover of God, God is everything. And everything what is His is God's. Because anyway, in the first place, everything belonged to God. But we started thinking it's us. It's ours. So that is why, you know what, so when you say, I offer this to God, it is a wrong statement. Now you understand why? If you understand the definition of God, it's wrong. I offer this to God. No. It was not yours, in the first place. That's why Krishna says, you cannot offer me anything. That's also one perspective. He says, you can't offer me anything because everything is mine. But then he says, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam. But anyway, he says, anyway start offering to me. Because now you don't understand. Until you understand everything belongs to me, start offering to me. And after you understand everything belongs to me, anyway, your whole life is anyway offered to me. Then you live as an offering to Lord. Then you don't offer something to God. You live as an offering. Your whole life is an offering to God. You see, there's a difference. For people who are new, Krishna says, give me fruits, flowers, this, okay. But when you become first class devotee, then you offer your very life and death to God. That's all. I exist for you. Bas. That's it. So that's a beautiful verse. Krishna speaks about definition of God. You see the point here? Now you understand definition of God and the implications of understanding the definition. Okay, so now we got definition of God. Now next verse, Krishna says, now you have understood me, now you know me, but now you have to develop love for me by using intelligence. Okay? So what to do to develop love for Him? How to develop love for Him? Now we know who is Krishna. We define Him. But how to develop love? Krishna says there is a process. There is a process to develop love. And what's the process? It's simple. If you want to start loving somebody, what's the first thing you want to do?
Think about it. Know about him.
Yeah, know about him. Isn't it? You need information. You don't know about him, that's all. First thing. So that's why Krishna says, Mat Chitta. Krishna says, go to people who know about me. That's all. Mat here means go to my people. Go to my people who know me. Go to those people who know me, who discuss about me. Go to them. Mat Chitta. And then absorb your mind in me. In other words, get information about me as much as possible. Try to get as much as possible information. So Gita 10 chapter, 11 chapter tells about who is God. It's simple, no? It's simple. If you want to love somebody, first you have to know him. Inside out. His heart, his mind, his activities, whatever, So, Mat Chitta, Krishna says, yes. If you want to love me, associate with people who are in love with me. In other words, who know me. Go to them and inquire, Mat Chitta, Of course. That word is a bodhyanta. Bodhyanta means inquire from them, know from them who am I. So the idea is, if you want to fall in love with God, if you want to love Him, you first need association of people who know Him. Got the point? You have to search those people who know Him. That's very important. So that's why Prabhupada said, I am making this institution so that people can come and know about Krishna. And that's very important. We have to keep the spirit of this institution. And this institution should provide knowledge about God to others. That's a primary role, isn't it? Primary role of this temple, primary role of this institution. People come and inquire, and we tell who is Krishna. And that's what, 24 hours it should be there. Come, we are ready. Actually, I was thinking, that in all our temples we should have some, what's that, information counter? We have, no? We should have information counter. Come and get information. And okay, who is Krishna? Who is this person? What's happening? So we explain everything. We have some brochures and some map and something. Okay, this is. It's a great idea. Just an idea. I was thinking it should be great. So that's how. That's why Prabhupada says these are not temples. These are educational institutes. Vidya Mandiram. You know this word? Vidya Mandiram. Vidya. So Krishna says yes. Associate and get knowledge. In other words, the role of association with devotees is to get knowledge. You got the point? We don't associate to gossip. We don't associate to eat pastries and dhoklas and I don't know what you eat, but that's not the whole point. We can do that. It's nice. It's nice to exchange food because you develop relationship. But that's not the whole point. The whole point is to get knowledge. Krishna says, Bodhyanta parasparam. Now that word parasparam means what? What does Prabhupada say? Each other. The idea is, if you want to know God, have discussion. Krishna says. It should never be a monologue. It should be a dialogue. And if anybody is a philosopher here, is there any philosopher here? Philosophy? Okay. If anybody is a philosopher, this method of discussion is called as Socratic method. You know this Socrates? You know Socrates by the way or not?
Yeah.
Yes? Yes. Speak something. I'm getting bored. I don't know what's happening. Yeah, you should know Socrates, isn't it? At least in this country. Socrates. So Socrates, that's called Socratic method. Socrates said nobody can learn anything by a monologue. I speak and you listen. No. It's always a dialogue. I speak something, you have some doubts, you ask me, you might have some assumptions. You might be assuming that that's a correct answer. I'm speaking something and sometimes people nod, They understand, yeah. And when I ask them, actually they're understanding something else what I'm meaning, isn't it? And it happens something like sometimes, many times it happens like that. So that was, actually there's a joke in this. So one saint, he was giving a lecture and he was speaking about liberation. And he was saying, the aim of life is liberation. And and one person was sitting there in the audience and he was saying, yeah. And that saint was, and everybody else is sleeping. So that saint thought, this guy, he's understanding everything. And the whole topic was liberation, and he talked about liberation, and this liberation is goal of life, this. And that guy, he was telling, yes, and tears were coming in his eyes. And after the lecture, everybody went and he called that guy. He told, you are the best audience I've ever heard, you understood what's liberation. He said, yes, actually, you know what? Yes, I really understood because I just got liberated from my wife. For him, liberation was that. So you see, sometimes we have some conception, but that's not right. So discussions are very important. And that's why my style is to ask questions. I do that because otherwise I feel it's waste of time. I mean, you are just here 100, 50, 60 people. But in India, I give lecture to 4,000, 5,000, 10,000 people. But in that also I ask questions. That Nobody does. How can you ask question in 5,000 people? But I ask. I make them speak. Okay, if somebody is saying something from one corner, but it makes discussions live, and it makes discussions relevant. Otherwise, I am speaking something, you are understanding the same thing in a different level, and who knows what people understand. So bodhyanta parasparam. So that's the idea. Have discussions. If you want to love God, have discussions. If you want to know Him, have discussions. Try to know Him. And kathyantascha. Kathyantascha means, Prabhupada translates as talking. Kathyantas basically also means preaching. Katha, preaching. Preach about Him. Think of Krishna. Discuss about Krishna. Know Him. And whatever you know, speak. It's a simple method. It's a very simple method. Know and speak. Speaking is very important. If you don't speak, you don't learn. Period. That's all. If you simply read books and if you don't speak the same thing, you will never learn. Am I right?
Yes.
Teachers, instructors, teachers know this. Actually, if you speak, the first student is you yourself. That's how it goes. So I am speaking to you. Actually, you might learn or not learn. It doesn't matter. But I am learning. But if you learn, that's very nice. That's very nice. Kathyantasya mam nityam. And then Krishna says one very important thing. If you want to love Him, okay, have association of devotees, discuss, preach, tushyanti cha ramanti cha. When you discuss about Krishna, tushyanti means satisfaction. You will get satisfied. And you know what's the definition of satisfaction? Can anybody tell me what's the definition of satisfaction? Krishna gives in Gita. I told you this book is about definitions, by the way. Actually, I am writing a book on Vaishnav dictionary to define things. Yeah.
Peace of mind, satisfaction.
Not exactly. Satisfaction gives peace of mind. But satisfaction is not peace of mind. I'm asking the definition of satisfaction.
It's a fulfill a desire.
Fulfill your desires. Okay, you can say something like that. Okay. But then you can get more desires. Then what do you do? Yeah. No. I want a universal definition of satisfaction. Why I am asking this question? To inspire you to read this book. This book has all definitions. Everything. Whatever you know, whatever you don't know. Whatever you will probably come to know and whatever you will never know. Everything is there in this book. I am going to give definition from this book, by the way. So when I talk to philosophers, I ask this first question. Can you define satisfaction? No philosopher has a definition of satisfaction. It is 100% guaranteed. You ask them. Still a debate. It's a PhD thesis for them. Krishna defines in one line. That's the beauty of this book. Okay, what's Mataji? What's the answer? Quick. You were telling something? I don't know. Yeah.
Being happy with what you have.
Being happy with what you have? Okay, to a certain extent.
It's a state of completeness.
State of completeness. It's not. It's making little more abstract, isn't it? Then I have to ask you what is state, what is completeness. A definition should be self-explainable. Not that you need another definition too. It's not a definition, isn't it? Okay, yeah. But no design comes in nature. Okay, for you it's okay, fine. Okay, so Krishna defines yam labdvana cha param labham manyate na adhikam tata. Krishna's satisfaction is that state of your mind where there is nothing else to be achieved. When you reach a point in your life when there is nothing else, nothing further to be achieved, and you think this is the end, that is satisfaction. That's all. Nothing else. Further than this, nothing else. Do you want something? I don't want anything. It's the end of my journey. I found what I found, isn't it? I found Krishna. Do you want anything? Nothing. That's satisfaction. Beautiful definition of satisfaction. And that's what Krishna says. That's what Krishna says. If you want to love me, you should be satisfied. You should, if you want to love me, come to me and understand this is the end. There's nothing else to be known, nothing else to be achieved. With this spirit, you do devotion. You connect to me and then you will get love. You see the point? Isn't it? That's Tushanti. And then Ramanti cha. Ramanti means, Ramanti basically means, Prabhupada says, bliss and pleasure. Pleasure. So Krishna says, if you want to love me, first thing is, if you try to know me, you will get bliss, you will feel happy, you will get a lot of enjoyment. But at the same time, Krishna says, if you want to love me, don't be frustrated in life. If you come to me, come with this faith and spirit that Krishna can make impossible possible. He can do that. He can do everything. So why do worry? When a child is in lap of mother, does he worry? Yes or no?
No.
There might be so many problems. But as soon as child comes in lap of mother, pin drop silence. Because no worries. So there are so many problems in life, but when you're in lap of God, especially when you're chanting holy names. Chanting holy names, that means you're in lap of God. No worries. Even if there are so many problems, Krishna is there. He will manage in his own style, in his own way. So that's what Krishna says. If you want to love me, these are some qualifications you need. These are some association of devotees. And what else? Discussion about Krishna and speak about him.
Chanting.
And chanting includes preaching, speaking about him, discussion, chanting holy names, and be satisfied. The spirit should be, the mood should be satisfied and be happy in his service. That's how you became. So that's about. Okay, so you go. Okay, fine. And there's some questions. I'll take it 3-4 minutes more. Yeah. Wait. The 3-4 minutes. Okay. I'll end here. The 2 verses, 10th and 11th. Go and read those verses yourself. Please read it. And there's a lot of insight there. I've discussed 2 verses. I've discussed definition of God and I've discussed how to love Him. That's what I've discussed. So, another 2 verses will tell you what happens when you love Him. What happens actually. What happens in your life. Prabhupada says if you love Krishna, magic will happen. Prabhupada says that. So how exactly magic happens, Krishna explains in next 2 verses. But I'll stop here. Go and read. Let us keep this mystery and go and read that. Any questions now? We have some time if anybody wants to ask.
Just a comment about satisfaction.
Yeah.
No, now I was thinking, I was reading one of Prabhupada's quotes yesterday and might connect this. So I'm just saying something about desire would be giving up inferior state to attain superior state.
Yeah.
Right? So will that be connected to satisfaction also?
You're right.
Ultimate satisfaction, would it be?
You're right. In inferior state is when you hanker.
Mm-hmm.
Superior state is when hankering is finished. You have nothing else to achieve. That's superior. Pravritti, nivritti.
Mm-hmm.
That's a technical. But Prabhupada is speaking about this, by the way. Superior, inferior. That's what scripture says. So that is satisfaction.
Right.
Yeah.
My question is the following. Since you preach a lot in universities and you write books about it, my question is, do you feel that universities are open to spirituality? Because we see that usually they resort to a materialistic explanation of life. And if they are not open, why is that so?
Well, most of the academic field, especially academics, let's talk about that, they are not open really to the concept of soul and God, because they think it is religion, mythology. Soul is something superstition. They don't really talk about it. But nevertheless, at the present state, they are very open to the subject of consciousness. Very much open. Although they don't really understand what's consciousness, because according to them, consciousness is mind. It's not exactly soul. And it's not even mind. There are debates happening, but they're very open. And this is, I would say, a caveat. You understand caveat? This is some gate there where you can enter science and then talk about spirituality, but in their own language. If you talk soul, they'll not. But you have to talk about consciousness. You have to use scientific terms, consciousness, and probably you have to talk about mind and brain duality, all those things. And then they're very open, and you can talk. At least at present, science is open. Before 20 years, they were not even open to the subject of consciousness. It was not there. It's coming now with the quantum physics. It is forced to be there, and also in psychology, like Gestalt psychology, it is there. So we talk that. They listen. Even in university, students are very open. They listen. Students are more open, by the way. Yeah. You see, students are very much open. You can even talk of spirituality, straightforward. But when you go to professors, there's a problem. Even I have some of my friends who are professors, and they became a friend, and they talked, and they told me, actually, you know what? Intuitively, we can understand there is a soul. You see the point? I can accept there is a God and a soul, but because of scientific, all these constraints, I am unable to take it. But if you say, I would accept. If you put my science. So that's how we talk, and it's pretty much open. We need people to talk about science, by the way. It's open, field is ready. People are ready to listen. In fact, I preach science all over, and people are really, even you all, if I speak science, you all will be like hooked up. I'm pretty sure. Science in the temple, what's that happening? And then I can explain you in Gita about science. So it's there. But problem is, very few people talk about science, because to talk on science, you need to do a lot of homework. You need to know subject. I can say quantum physics talks about consciousness, but I should know what is quantum physics, because somebody gets up and asks me, okay, my dear sir, what is eigen state? I don't know. I just know quantum physics and consciousness. So that's why it becomes difficult. Otherwise, it's required. And my experience, people are listening. Yeah.
So if everything belongs to Krishna, he is the owner of everything, including the mind, then sometimes it is very difficult to control the mind. So why?
Not sometimes, every time. Its mind is crazy. So
if he is the owner, we should control our mind.
yeah, he's ready to control if you allow him. If you allow him, he's ready to control. But the problem is we don't allow him to enter our lives. That's what we are. Krishna, you remain an altar. You look good there. But don't come in my heart and in my life. If you try to come in my life, I can't tolerate it. You stay there. You see the point? We are not allowing him to come in our life and to interfere in our life. That's why Krishna says, Sarv Dharman Paritajya. You know that verse, no?
Yeah.
Surrender unto me. Krishna is saying, allow me to manipulate your life. Allow me to interfere in your life. But we apply intelligence and we say, no. This excuse, that excuse. And that's why mind is not controlled.
So devotees are praying a lot, please help me. And
Praying, okay. So if there is a forest fire, you can shout, please help me. No help. We'll be burned to death. This example is given by Krishna to Uddhav. I am not giving. So Krishna says, simply prayers will not work. When there's a forest fire, you have to find intelligence to find a way. Along with prayers. You keep on shouting, help me, some help will come, but you have to find a way. Or if you're drowning in an ocean, what do? You shout, help me, isn't it? Help me. But till the time help comes, you have to somehow keep floating. Otherwise, if you go down, even if help comes, you're not there. So that much you have to do. So the point is, Prabhupada says, first deserve, then desire. So along with prayers, we also have to work on our consciousness. We have to control our senses. We have to understand who is God. We have to learn philosophy. We have to do our part. And then our prayers will reach Krishna. That's why Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, a person who is not putting efforts to know me and to control his senses, his prayers will not reach me. Your prayers will not reach his. Na shune nanda, what's that? The Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes in the first song of Sharanagati, Je jana shadang Sharanagati jahar, tahar prathna sune Nand Kumar. So that's Sharanagati. Sharanagati means basically philosophy and control of senses. So that's why people pray. That's very nice. Along with that, then they have to read Gita, understand, and then control their senses by that understanding, and then things will happen. If it's not happening, then this means there is a lack there. You see the point? It's unable to reach Krishna. So that's how it goes. Is it okay? Okay, so I think, last question and I'll finish.
I just one kind of statement that I heard in relation to my process of trying to recondition my mind, I guess. And there's a saying I used to live my life by, which was satisfaction is the death of desire. If I looked at it in the material sense, coming from that okay, you always want desire. That's the average person, because then it pushes you to become a millionaire or something. So that just made me think of that again, that you could look at that in being positive way, because you don't want desire, unless it's a Krishna.
Yeah.
Unconditioning that idea.
Yeah.
Even now today, I always want more and more. I try to tell myself, no, I don't.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, Buddhism says satisfaction is that of desire. That's Buddhism basically. But we don't say that. We say satisfaction is actually channelizing your desires from that to Krishna. It's not death. It is actually reliving your desires in a proper way.
Okay.
That is Bhagavad Gita philosophy. So that's how it goes. Anyway. Okay, anyway, so if anybody wants these pen drives, you can please come and ask me. And just like I've discussed every verse, I was explaining you all verses I've discussed in these pen drives. Every verse of Bhagavad Gita. Systematically and scientifically as far as people can understand. So this is 300 hours of audios and 16 hours of videos. You can please I have my email here, and you can share with me, you can ask me questions, we can discuss something, you can keep on listening, and that's the whole process to know God. So you're most welcome. I'll be here, and I can take this. And also I'm grateful to you all so that you have come, given your time to actually hear this. And also thank you to Balkrishna Prabhu and ISKCON Edmonton, to actually allow me to speak something here. And also thank you to Radha Govindji. Without him, nothing happens. So anyway, Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So this is a wonderful lecture by Dr. His Grace Keshav Anand Prabhu. Once again, please give me a big round.